everybody, welcome to Houdini Hangout. It is the 13th of December, getting close to the end of the year here. Glad to have you with us this evening, and yeah, we should be hopefully doing some fun stuff tonight. Have some have some interesting effects that we're going to be looking into and kind of playing around with, seeing what we can come up with. We've sort of done some stuff like this before, but I saw a lot of chat about it online on some Discord and Slack channels and things like that. And so I figured, hey, let's talk about it. Let's kind of play around with it. Let's see what we can do and get to work from all of this stuff that we'll take a look at tonight. So, so we have a video that we'll kind of look at and use as a little bit of inspiration to kind of guide us through this effect that we're going to set up tonight. Hey KG, welcome to the stream. Thanks for being here. Nice to have you. So hopefully it should be a pretty fun example to play around with, and we'll kind of talk through that a little bit more. Just for any of you out there that might be watching and think, oh, it would be great for him, for us to kind of talk through some different effects that I've seen out there or different projects or things like that. You can always join the Discord server at HoudiniHangout.com. There is a topic suggestion part of our like a channel or whatever, and you can use that to suggest topics, and you can vote on them or upvote them or whatever there as well. It's that if you have ideas or things like that you would like to suggest, that's always a great place to go in and do it. And then, we can all kind of talk about it there, as well as maybe pick something to do on stream. Obviously there's times when I'm not going there to get ideas and things like that, different things I actually just want to do myself. But I thought, this kind of effect should be an interesting thing to take a look at tonight. So maybe real quick, we'll take a look at this effect or this kind of, system or whatever however you want to call it. All right, I am going to, let's see here. Sorry, just figuring out how the best way to display this is. All right, this should be good. Let's do this. So, there we go. So this is the kind of look for it, and it's pretty interesting. It's got like play it a little bit here. Got this kind of slowly swirling, and now this. So something to kind of keep in mind here is that these, I think, are two somewhat different setups, because if you look at the two, they're definitely different on some level there. Another thing to note here is that just in looking at these, it looks like these colored grains are changing colors as they play back. So if you watch this blue section right here, for example, if you look right in there and you watch that, it looks like some of those grains are definitely changing color. So they're kind of pushing through these different colored sections in order to, come up with different looks and things like that. So that's what we're seeing there. There is also, let's see here, we've got a section here where we do some bursts of kind of grains. So that's sort of interesting. And this is kind of interesting here too. And yep. Where's more grains? Grains. Sorry, just scrubbing through. Okay. This was another one that we might take a look at here. We've got some like emission into this system. So that's kind of cool. And I think then at the end, it's kind of more of the same with just this big swirl in the middle. Yeah. Cool. So, I think those are some of the like scenes that we'll take a look at here and try to get a little bit of a better sense for what's going on. So I think what we'll do is we'll first kind of start with this, how we might set up something like this wider shot here. obviously we're not going to get exactly that look, but we'll kind of play around with it. We'll see where we go and start working with maybe then a smaller section of it and pull that in and do some interesting stuff with that from there. So, so that's kind of the idea of what I wanted to play around with tonight. So let's go ahead. Let's take a look at this and we'll kind of see what we get up to. Yeah, I mean, like, so there certainly is that, right, KG, like talking about how many particles it is versus simulation and things like that. We'll take a look at that and see kind of how we can kind of better, see if there's anything we can do to kind of make these setups work a little bit better. I mean, I think part of it is that this setup here and this setup here, I think, are two different things. Like, I really think that they're pretty different. They look sort of similar. I mean, they're a similar look, but this certainly is a bit more of a isolated view from what the other one is. So we'll kind of keep referring back to this and looking at it over, the little bit here and kind of see what kind of stuff we might find as we're kind of going through it. But anyways, so as always, if you have any suggestions or ideas or thoughts or anything like that you'd like to bring up and put it in the chat, please feel free to do so. Always interested to hear if you have a better suggestion of something to do or a better way of going about something. This certainly, I'm going to be just kind of playing around tonight especially. So for me, I'd be really curious to hear, what your thoughts might be on these different, setups and things like that. So we'll kind of, I'm always happy to have people, giving their 2 cents and kind of, helping guide me through some of these things too, because obviously I don't know everything. So be great to have your feedback as well as we're going through this. So please feel free to put your thoughts and comments in the chat. But yeah, other than that, I guess let's dive in and do some Houdini stuff. All right, so let's start with some geometry. Oh, let's first start with saving our scene. How about that? All right, we'll do this. We're getting to the end of the year, so we're at 23/12. We'll call this grain waves. Cool. So I'm just realizing something. I feel like I was actually going to... Sorry, I'm just looking at my calendar here. Nope. Okay. I was like, did I forget to stream on Monday? But no, I was doing every other week with the Mops Mondays. So I was like, did I forget to stream this Monday? I'm losing my mind. Okay, cool. Great. All right, just double checking that. Sorry. All right, let's do some stuff here. So let's grab let's just make a geo. We'll call this geo grid. And this will just kind of be our grid that we're going to work with as like our wave or whatever. So let's do this. Let's maybe up these to 100 on each of those axes. Actually, you know what? Maybe we'll do 20 by 20 here and then do 200 just to give ourselves a little more room kind of to work in here. Oh, Crossfader, how's it going, man? Lucas, welcome, man. Glad to have you here. All right, so let's do a mountain sop, which is just a attribute noise that's going along the normal. Let's make the element size much larger here. Let's change this. Well, no, let's do a couple things here. Let's see. Let's take the roughness down on this. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what we're thinking of here. We're gonna play around with some of this stuff based on that Lenovo project. Yeah, we'll see where we get with it. I don't know, but could be fun. Could be something fun. All right, so let's do something like this. We've got some wave type action going on here. Maybe we'll do 1.5 there. This a little bigger. Yeah, it doesn't really matter where it is. Hey, Sig, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. For those of you that are coming in a little, just a little later than when we started, this is kind of what we're going to be playing around with making here. Making some interesting swirls and things like that of grains, and we'll see where we go with it. And for this one, we'll be this one won't be super active. This is just going to move a little bit. Not going to be anything crazy. All right, so let's do this. Okay. So I'm just coming up with kind of some thoughts here. Oh yeah, no problem. Well, hey, if you've got stuff to do it, man. It's just nice to have you around, have people joining us when they can. It's kind of join whenever you're available. All right, so we've got our mountaintop here. Let's do a couple things. Let's see what we can do here. Let's do a scatter. And let's up the count here a bit. Okay, cool. Let's see if we can turn off the relax iterations. No, probably want those on a little bit. Let's see if we can turn this down a little. Just want to get a little more randomness here, maybe. And that's probably a little too high, so let's do this. Okay. Cool. So we're getting some particles here. Everything's looking good. What I feel like we could do is do something like a point replicate, not WR, but just R. Let's see if we can do that there. Points per point. Let's do like 10. We'll do a sphere around them. Okay. So I'm thinking actually maybe we do a circle on the XZ plane. Make this a little bit bigger, maybe. Yeah, I think this, so what I'm starting to think about here is, so we have this grid, right? And we've got a lot of points, and this is all starting to do its thing a little bit. Sorry if this is making a mess on the compression or whatever. Just let me know if you're running into any issues. But I think what we're getting here is we're getting this sort of like stratified look, because these are all sort of in the XZ plane of the overall world and not this grid. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to turn off this mountain for a second. I'm going to rescatter this. And now we should have a bit more of a uniform look here, which is cool. That's cool. Let's turn this down a little bit and just see where this goes, because I want to see how high this is. Like, is this creating any? Not really. Okay, I think what I'm going to do instead is do a sphere, and maybe we'll do like 20 per, and we'll just squish it in the y-axis. So we'll do it like this, maybe 0.5 that axis. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm just basically replicating points, right? I'm taking these original points that we've scattered on here, and I'm replicating based on that, right? So I'm getting this really dense kind of grid of points here going on from this original scatter. So I've originally scattered this, and it's pretty even across the whole mesh. Then we have a point replicate here. And what probably would make the most sense is to now take this, maybe we'll go a little further with this. Maybe we'll say like 0.1, and just make sure that this is a little flatter just to keep it all in sort of a plane here. And what we could do is instead we could take this mountain over here. So here's our deformed geometry. And what we could do is do a point deform. So we're going to deform that based on this as our rest point, and this is going to be our deformed geometry. So now we have this thin geometry of points, right, that has been deformed based on this mesh. So we've taken these points as a flat grid. We have this mesh that's going to be deforming. And what we could do as well is we could turn this down. So we could turn this to like 100, right? It doesn't have to be a super high resolution mesh. And now, you know, that'll deform based on that. Now we're getting maybe a little bit of artifacting in here and stuff like that. So let's see here. Oh, I think that might be, yeah, it's because of the radius. Sorry. It's because of the radius here. So let's up that a little bit. Maybe we'll say 0.5. And that should be good. Now we should have a nice smooth reproduction there of that. Cool. Great. So now we have like this thin kind of shell of points that we can move around. Now the interesting thing, hey Zach, how's it going, man? Glad to have you here. The interesting thing that we could do now is we could do stuff with this original grid here. So let's kind of, or these points right before they get deformed. Because we're kind of working in this XY grid, we can do some interesting stuff here. So like what we could do is do like an attribute adjust color maybe. And we could do, let's see here. Let's take this. Let's do a noise. And let's see what we can get going here. So, oh, right. I'm just doing the offset here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do this before the point replicate just to make it go a little faster at first. Just a few less points. So let's see what we can do here. Can we get some like warping or something? That's kind of cool. It's doing some interesting stuff there. Hey, that's kind of fun. It's looking sort of like what was in that video there. So let's see what we can do here. Cool. So something like that maybe is a bit more along the lines of what was in you know, what we were looking at here, where it's these kind of circles. And obviously we can go through and we could, you know, play around with these, do a whole bunch of different stuff there, but we'll just kind of start here and go somewhere. So maybe we'll just pick some of these colors out of here. Let's see here. So I'm just going to pull these. Actually, no, I'm just going to make sure we're auto saving here. So maybe the base color will be sort of this goldish orange kind of color. And oops, sorry. We'll maybe throw in maybe a bit of a darker orange here. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where these colors go. Actually, this might make more sense there. Maybe we'll have like a little strip of that bluish kind of color in here. Maybe we'll get those a bit closer together. Just kind of looking at how this is going here. Now, the other thing that's obviously happening here is we've got some like distortion up and down along this grid, right? And so that could be done sort of based on a similar kind of effect, right? We could kind of color this with black and white, where like white is going to push it more up and down. Black is going to be, hey, how's it going, man? Let's see. La Pampadura. Nice to have you here. Welcome, welcome. So another thing that we could do is we could kind of play around with this in a different sense, where we could kind of create a float value here instead of color, right? So we could sort of set this up to be different amounts that are going to be what's the word? I'm trying to think of a word. Displaced up and down differently. So what we could do instead is we could do something like change these over to like black and white, right? So you could do some of these as like varying levels of like black and white, or we could even do it, we could even do something where we would just have like, let's see here. Hey, Carlos, welcome. We could do something like this, where we would have black and white like so, right? And then we could drive our displacement based on that, and then color based on that as well. So this could just be kind of our start ramp or whatever. So we could use this, and let's see what happens when we port that in there. Yeah, it's looking good. Cool. And then what we could do is do, actually, no, I'm going to reverse that. So let's do this, and we'll kind of have less of it getting really extended up and down. So let's do it like that, something like that. We'll remap this color to something that we're sort of interested in getting in a second here. So let's see here. Maybe we'll do something like that. That looks kind of cool. All right, so let's do that. And then what we can do is we can do a point vop. And we can give these all normals, which pretty simple. So we could just do a normal. Can we do it this way, right? No, it'd be easier just to do a point wrangle. Oh, sorry. Point wrangle. There we go. We'll throw in v at n equals 0, 1, 0. So that's just saying in the up axis. So we'll do that. So now we have an n that we can go along, and we'll take, so if we look at this here, these should all be pointing. Oh, there's quite a few of those, so let's just do this. So now we should see that these are all pointing up. So all the point normals are pointing upwards. So I'm gonna turn this off. Obviously that visualization takes up a lot of data to do. So cool. All right, so we've got this adjust, we got the point fop. Let's do normal display long normal. So we'll grab the P and an N. I guess we could have just hard coded that as up, but that's okay. So we'll do P and N here. And what we'll do is we'll take the color and we'll do this based on the amount here. And what we can do is we can do a multiplier there, right? So right now that's just straight up multiplying it. So let's do multiply like this. So here we're going to multiply CD by an amount. I'm going to promote this parameter and call this something like disp mult and say displacement multiplier. Okay, so now we have a way to scale this a little bit easier here. So now we have this displacement multiplier and we can sort of add in some. Yeah, exactly. This little wrangle here to set it. This is just setting V at N to up in the y-axis. I could have actually hard coded that in this point fop as well. I could have just done a constant and just done this as a vector and set this up as 1, but you can maybe this way it'll be a little bit easier to kind of mess around with. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do something like that maybe. Yeah, maybe that's kind of interesting, like that. So now we're getting some swirly stuff. And if we take that and bring that over into this point deform, we should now be getting this kind of swirly, interesting sort of sea of particles and points and things like that. So obviously you could increase the amount here to something like 30. It's going to do a little bit more calculation here to get a denser grid of points, but this is going to start making something along that lines of what we were seeing in that shot, right? And let's just do another, maybe another attribute adjust color. And let's see here. We could do this based on color attribute. Is that going to work? Let's see, remap attribute. Is that going to do it better? Yeah, there we go. Cool. So we can do this based just on the CD attribute. And now we can kind of maybe get something a little bit more interesting here. I'm going to actually turn this down again just to maybe like 15 for right now. We don't need it to be quite as insane. And let's just kind of recolor this to something a bit more interesting for us here. So let's take these out and we'll just kind of start playing around with these colors here. So we've got sort of an orangey color here. Let's see. Do this and something like that maybe. And then let's see, we'll kind of grab some other colors here. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to come down here so it doesn't have to do that point wrangle every time. All right, so let's do this. We'll get a darker color in the mix there. Cool. All right, cool. Maybe the very end here will be that bluish kind of color. And we'll really kind of crank that down here, and we'll maybe desaturate that a little bit, darken it up a little bit. Something like that. Interesting. All right, we'll do something like that there. Maybe we'll add another one over here that's a bit more orangey or something. I don't know. We can copy that parameter, paste those values there. Cool. And we could do the same thing here. Copy this parameter, paste the values there. You know, we can kind of play around with this however we might see fit. But maybe, you know, something like that. I don't know. Sort of a weird thing. So now what we have going on here is we have these different sections that are going to be displaced based on their, like, sort of their color attributes and things like that. So the different colors are being displaced by a different amount. If we look here, this is obviously a much more interesting kind of, you know, noise pattern here. I guess they've probably played with this quite a lot more. Some of these are really displacing pretty highly off of the top here. But this is sort of the idea of what's going on here. And so what we could do is now really anything that happens in this space here, in this 0 to 1 space here, could, in theory, will affect what's happening down here after this point deform, after this noise. So what we could do, and what it sort of looks like is happening in that, in this video here, is there's not really a ton of movement happening if we watch it. It's kind of just chilling and sort of rippling back and forth. Nothing too crazy is happening in this wide shot. So what we could do here is we could simply just work some noise through this, right? So if we did attribute adjust vector, throw some noise through that. I mean, you can do any number of the ways of adding in noise here, but let's do this. We've got P that we're going to work with. Let's do some noise to add into it. And let's make this, well, first of all, let's take this from up here maybe, and we'll just do some bit more kind of a basic noise at first, and then we'll go from there. So let's sort of make this a bit more wavy, not so much amplitude. Let's zero center that so that it goes both directions, right? And what we can do is we can actually scale the amplitude based on axes. So we could have this only really working in the X and Y axes right here, right? So what we could do then is we could animate this and start to get something going here. So we could do something that's like 5, right? Maybe even more. Maybe it's like 10, right? So it's this really kind of big noise happening here, right? So it's this sort of large noise field that's only happening along the surface of this. Maybe it's going up and down a little bit. You know, maybe we do like 0.25, something like that. And yeah, that's good. So we sort of got something like that going on there. You can make these elements as big or small as you wanted to. Obviously, you can make small little waves or big ones. So let's do maybe 5 here. And now you can see we have this sort of moving and doing things. And if we added in this, it's going to obviously slow down a bit here, but you know, obviously we're dealing with a ton of points and things like that animating. But we could certainly cache this out, could go, you know, through this section here and actually have it animate and do things. So let's do a file cache here maybe, just to cache this out, be able to see it maybe a little bit better. We'll say so this is just simply animated, right? We're not doing anything overly exciting here. Yeah, save and continue. Actually, I'm going to cancel this real quick because it's not a simulation. So for my caches and stuff like that, I just have like, I built this computer a few years ago. Probably nowadays I would have like I'd probably have a solid state drive that I would write my stuff to. But this is going to a RAID array, in my computer. So it's just a 4-drive RAID array. Save that to disk again. Oh, nope, my bad. It does need to be time dependent. It just does not need to be a simulation. All right, there we go. Yeah, so a NAS might be tricky. I don't know. I've never used that cap. Hello, are we there? Okay, we're back. Sorry. Sorry, I did something really stupid. I'm just going to do it this way. I don't know why I decided to try to do something fancy. I tried to just run a bunch of frames simultaneously caching, and that's really stupid. So thank you. Thank you. I just decided to crunch my whole computer. So yeah, let me cache this out first. Another thing that I am planning to do in the coming year is I am planning on building another computer, which should be really nice. So I don't have to stream and do Houdini on the same computer, because you never can tell when something's going to totally destroy everything. And right now my voice might be really... Sorry, I tricked you all. Tricked you. Right now my voice might be going crazy because it's using a ton of resources on my computer. So my apologies if it sounds terrible. Hmm. Yeah, so it looks like I'm still running maybe a little bit too heavy on this. Don't want it to be too nuts. No, it is a simulation. Okay. Sorry, just gonna try to cache this out so we can actually see what it's doing a little bit more real time and then go from there. For the next section, I'm not going to be using 7.5 million grains or anything like that. We'll just do a small little section of the box. But I just want to talk about this like kind of wider shot first and then go from there. Sorry about that. Anyways, so this is sort of now working. At least we can sort of see the movement here that's happening. So we've got some waves in there. I mean, your mileage may vary for points and things like that. I'm actually surprised that it's as chunky with that. That might just be my that just might be my drive not liking to do that. So anyways, play around with that however you might want to do it. Maybe this will be a little better to do like 10 there per and just kind of call it good. I don't know. Play around with it. Your mileage may vary. I'm wondering if there is actually a better way of doing this. Maybe, hold on. What if we did this? So this might be better to do like that, and then no, I was going to say maybe doing the point replicate after, but that's time dependent, so we wouldn't want to do that. Yeah, anyway, so maybe turning this off might help us too. We might just have two. Oh no, that's helping to actually move it. Anyways, so that's kind of the first look here that they kind of set up. But let's now go into that second section. Let me know if my voice is still doing anything weird. Hopefully it's kind of chilled out now. Oh, you know what? It might have actually 5 out of 5. Let's see. Does that sound good? Hopefully it sounds good. Let me just double check. Check. All right. Cool. Voice is okay. Perfect. All right, let's keep going then. So this will be, we'll just say, cool. Thanks, guys. Let's call this animated grain grid because I did a little bit more in here than I thought I was going to. So we'll just call that like so. Cool. All right. So let's do something sort of similar, but let's actually look at this other section here where we start to get into this little kind of close up here, because this is definitely some sort of simulation, something simulation-y is going on here, right? So let's take a look at that. It's really only a few seconds, so. Okay, let's take a look at that. So, let's make another geo node. We'll say sim grain grid. We'll say small grain grid. So we're not going to go as crazy here. So let's see. Let's do another grid. That should be fine. Let's do something like that. Let's do a, let's do a mountain. Grab something interesting here. Let's make the element size a bit bigger, a little bit more amplitude. Let's turn the fractal roughness down. Okay, cool. Looking good. All right, so what we want to do here, I just want to look at this again just to kind of check. Yeah, it doesn't look like the geometry is really moving all that much. Like, it doesn't look like the base geometry is. It looks like we've got maybe some other stuff happening here. So that's cool. That's fine. All right, let's turn this off here. So let's just do a scatter. Let's maybe do like, I don't know, something like that should be fine for now. So let's actually throw this into a pop network. Let's try that. Let's try throwing these points into a pop network and see if we can't get something interesting going on here. So let's do a pop network, because really these are just particles, right? We just want these particles to stick to the surface. We don't really need it to do anything overly crazy. So let's grab our first input here. Let's do all points. Birth. Let's do $F equals 1. So when that's true, we'll get the impulse activation, and then from there it will not continue. Let's just do some pop wind here first, just to make sure that this is working. So I'm just going to wire this in here. Turn up the amplitude a little bit. I don't know, 0.25, something like that. I don't know. Yeah, cool. Okay, I'm going to turn off the guide here so we don't have that. So this is what we're getting now, right? We're getting some particles that are just sort of moving around, right? So we're somewhere. We've got something happening that's interesting here. But what we need to do is have this, have these points kind of redirected back down to the surface, right? And there's probably a few different ways that we could do this. So let's see what we can figure out here. So, well, first of all, let's make the swirl size a little bigger on this. Let's double that. And let's do this. Cool. All right. Great. So what I've done before in the past is use a gradient calculation to be able to put these points back to the surface, and I've seen that done a few times. Now, the only thing I'm kind of wondering here is that I've always done that based on actual closed geometry, and I don't remember if it'll work with just a grid. So let's see if we can do that. I don't know if it'll work or not, but let's see. Let's see, VDB from polygons. Will this work? Oh, you know what? I can just probably like thicken the geometry a little bit, because yeah, this probably won't work. Yeah, definitely doesn't work. All right, so let me do that. Let me just add some thickness to this. We could do, let's see, thicken. We'll just use the labs thicken. Just add some thickness to this geometry. Cool. We don't probably even need it that much. We can do, that's fine. That's fine. We'll leave it that way. Let me see here. How is this working? That's scattered on the top. Perfect. All right. So we're scattering on the top surface. That's perfect. So there's our thicken. We can do that. We can do VDB from polygons. And let's see what we can get here. 0.5. Okay, so now we have like a surface VDB going on here. Maybe this can go down a little more. Let's see. Yeah, that seems pretty good. And let's do world space for this narrow band. So what this is saying, right, is how far from the surface are we going to be adding in activated voxels. Oh, Subhajit, thank you for posting that. It's an off-topic question, but can you tell if it's possible to extract volume velocity from flip and use them as pop effect by the volume source? Yep, you definitely could do that. Any volume that has velocity, you could use that to advect particles. So yeah, for sure, you could take a flip simulation and then advect particles through it. Now, with flip already being particles, I don't know if that's super helpful, but you know, you could always just extract certain particles of that. I've actually, from a flip simulation, as long as you don't have reseeding turned on. Now, if you want to be really specific about it, yeah, that might make sense. Just, you know, adding in certain number of particles from a pop sim and doing it that way, that's fine. But yeah, no, you should be able to. That should be, you should be able to just take the velocity coming out of a flip simulation and work with it from there. All right, so I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger for this band voxel. So maybe we'll do like, I don't know, maybe we'll do the same. We'll do 10 times bigger than that. So we'll do 0.4, something like that. That's just a world size. It might be a bit overkill, but we'll just do it that way. Actually, we don't need to do the interior band that large, but that's fine. Actually, we could just do probably fill interior, and that's fine because it's just a very small interior, so we shouldn't be worried too much about adding a ton more voxels that way. So great. Okay, so if we have this, we should have our surface. And then what I'm going to do is do a volume VOP. And we're going to calculate the gradient of this and use that as a way to push these points back to the surface. So let's do this here. And I had learned this from Intagma a while ago. They have probably a much better tutorial than what I'm doing here, but I'll kind of talk you through it and we can ask questions and stuff like that. But check out their stuff if you want like super in-depth details on that. Let's see. Actually, take a quick beverage break. Give me one moment. All right, so let's see here. Volume gradient. So we are going to calculate based on the second input. Actually, no, it'll be based on the first input. Primitive number 0. There's only one primitive. And we're going to sample this at each position. Right? That sounds right. So we're taking, now what we could do is instead we could say primitive name, we could say surface, and then we'll have the volume gradient here. And I'll just bind export this as gradient. And this will be a vector, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, should be. So we're getting the gradient coming out here. And that should do it. We don't even need this coming out there, so that's fine. Okay, let me just make sure that is working. Oh, no, I need to create that volume. Okay, so let's do a... Oh, could I? I might be able to. That's a good question. That might be a good question. Pfft, yeah, duh. I can do that. Thank you. Good point. Thanks, cheese shake. Ugh, that sounds disgusting. Cheese shake. Custom name. So let's do this on surface. And will that work? Yep. And then yeah, so this VDB analysis is exactly, it does calculations and stuff like that. And I totally forgot this even existed. So yes, you can do the gradient operation on it instead of doing that within the volume VOP. So this will now just output the gradient. Yeah, delicious and nutritious. That's disgusting, man. Gross. Don't make me kick you out of my chat for making gross comments about cheese shakes. Ugh. Anyways, some of us might be lactose intolerant. I'm very intolerant of lactose. So what this is doing is it's taking the surface volume, which is a float, and it's looking at kind of the direction of where the values are pointing within that volume. It's creating an analysis. It's doing an analysis of it, changing it from a scalar to a vector. So it's taking surface, doing the gradient operation, and we're outputting gradient here. So, yeah, so that's good. Now I think if we do a VDB vector, or no, is it tree? Yeah, visualize tree. That's what it is. Couldn't remember the name of it. What you could do is do the, and still don't respect it. Yeah, exactly. We just don't respect it. So what we could do here is do points and points with the values. And let's see here. Actually, I'm going to do a VDB resample first, just just to see this a little bit better here. So, voxel scale. Let's see here. So let's do gradient. Is this making more or less? That's making more. So let's do 4. I just want to really lower the resolution of this. No, that's too much. Let's do 2. Okay, so now we have like points here that we can actually look at. And so we have these vectors that we should be able to actually visualize here. So this is the so that's the gradient. So now if we take a look at this here, we should be able to see the gradient, and we should be able to visualize this a little better. So let's do this here. We'll do instead of color, we'll do a marker. We'll do a vector. Hey, that's big. You like scale. Let's just turn this down a little bit. We should be able to see that kind of point. So pointing away from the surface here should be a vector, right? And so as we see this surface here, we should see that these vectors are pointing kind of away from this, depending on where we are within this vector field. So, so we should be able to use both the surface or the SDF and the gradient to be able to calculate like how far they are away, like the magnitude of their distance, and then the direction that we need to move it back. So we can use those two volumes in conjunction to kind of make this work. So anyways, this is just me visualizing it instead of having this. So this resample just made it so it wasn't that dense, just kind of reducing the density of it. But anyways, just wanted to visualize that real quick. So let's do this. We can also merge these together. So we can shift click, alt click, and now we have both the surface and the gradient together. So that is now all in one. And what we could do here now is we could input this into the pop network here. And so we've got these points, right, moving around. And let's now sample these vector fields, and then each frame after we add in the so we're going to do all this solve, and then pre-solve, we'll just make sure we move each point back to the surface. So in this pre-solve step, we'll move them back. At least I think that should be how this will end up working. We'll take a look. Yeah, I think that should be good. Yeah, we'll take a look. So let's see here. I'm just going to make a null here. I don't know if we'll need to use this as the second input. We'll see. But let's just say volumes there. And let's do a SOP solver. Should be fairly simple, I think. And what I'll do is I'll do an object merge. So yeah, I didn't need that other input wired there, so I can just cut this here. Should be fine. We'll go inside of here. We're going to do an object merge. We're going to say get volumes. And let's grab the volumes here. And so let's do a little bit of calculations here to get this to sort of work the way we want it to, right? So each frame, go away. Go away, volume box, thank you. So each frame we should be able to, we'll be getting this movement here, right? But we want to move them back down to the grid. So we've got these volumes right here. This is great. We've got 2 VDBs coming in. Good stuff there. What we want to do is we want to look up the, for each of these points inside of this gradient, we want to look up the, or each of these points inside of the volume, we want to look up the gradient and the distance that they are from that SDF or from that surface. So let's do that. So let's take, let's do a volume VOP. I think will be easier to understand what we're doing. We could do this all in Vex, obviously, but let's do it this way. So we've got a volume VOP. Hello? Oh, sorry, not a volume VOP. It's a point VOP. So we don't have to do anything weird with volume. We'll just do with points. So now we have these volumes. We're gonna analyze those in here. So we're gonna say, if I type in volume, we're gonna say volume sample and volume sample vector. So this will be for, so we're going to put both of these into the second input here, and we'll change these over to, actually, you know what? We don't even need to do that. We could just cut these and do them both to be the second input. There we go. And we'll change them to primitive name. So this is going to be a float value. So this is going to be the surface. So this is easier because we know the primitive name there. And then let's do the primitive name again, and we'll call this gradient. We're going to sample the position at the current point position. So that's going to be here. So now this is going to output, well, let's just do this. Let's do a bind, bind export, and we'll just call this distance, and we'll do another one. We'll call this one, we'll call this one grad. Cool. So now we have distance and gradient that we're going to be looking up from each of these, right? So that should be right. And as we go through here, we're going to see the distance that these are going to be so the distance that they need to be moved and sort of the direction that they need to be moved, right? So some of these, let's see, some of these actually they'll eventually get out of that field, right? So then we're going to start returning stuff like zeros and 0.4 so they're past, the extent of it. So we're going to try to make sure that doesn't happen at all. So we're going to do this each step. So it'll constantly be correcting and kind of sticking it to that geometry, like reattaching it to that geometry. So La Pampadura was just asking, do I know any good courses for your paid to start learning Vex and VOP? Oh yeah. Well, I was going to say, yep, I did one at the beginning of last year. There was a Joy of Vex. Matt Estella made the content and all the stuff for that. And then I just kind of turned it into some video streams of me going through it. So you could certainly watch that. That's all Vex. As far as VOPs go, I don't really know of anything. I don't actually know of anything that specifically talks about VOPs, but VOPs are very similar to Vex. There are some definite differences. But the nice thing here is that kind of all of these functions are just nodes, so it's a little easier to understand. So that's a lot of times why I'll go this direction. But they are sort of linked, right? In some way, they're sort of one and the other are kind of coexist together. So, yeah, I don't really have a good VOP thing, but well, that's not true. I mean, I like to use VOPs for noises and things like that. I find it a lot easier to deal with noises in VOPs. Vex is great for doing like really complicated for loops and that type of thing. Like when you're doing anything that's really complicated logic wise, that's I feel like is a lot easier to do in Vex. VOPs has really weird. Oh, Sig, that sounds like a nightmare. I mean, it's just like so many, like the problem with working in Vex with noises, you have so many arguments. You start to go like, oh, which argument is which? Like for your functions, you're like, which one goes to which thing? It's just, like when you do like a curl noise, right? Like you have all of these things and those all have to be like arguments into your function in Vex. And it's like, no, I just don't want to. No, I refuse. That's so funny. Writing noises in Vex. That's why, hey, that's life. Okay. So we're definitely getting our data in here, which is great. Crossfader, yes. There we go. I've got someone on my team. Thanks, Lucas. Thankfully, now just has presets for it all. Yep. Presets are great. You mean from the 20 update where it goes up over the top? Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any answers for that. I know I've heard people like, see, I like it when things just randomly change. So I'm a weirdo. I'm like, oh, this is fun. They're up here now. But yeah, I don't have an answer for that. I'm sorry. Put in an RFE to say, please put our stuff back under the Vex function field. Although, in a few years, people will be used to that and be like, why does it go under? So, to each his own, I guess. You like what you're used to, I guess, right? So anyways, okay. Oh, there is a way. Oh, Sig, I'd like to know. I haven't heard of anybody mentioning that, so that would be news to me. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. You could move the folder. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. You could go into the edit parameter interface and move things down. Yeah, that makes sense. Good little tip there. Thanks. Side effects came by and mentioned it. Where was that, Sig? Where did side effects mention that? I'm curious about that. Who and where and where did they come by? Was it like Santa Claus? Like side effects just pops down your chimney and was like, hey, move the folder down. Oh, at work. Got it. That's cool. Where do you work, Sig? That's interesting. You get a visit from side effects. I never got visits from side effects at my job. I was the only Houdini person, so. All right, sorry. Where are we here? All right, so we need to move based on the gradient and okay, so oh, you're in New Zealand. Huh, that's weird. So you probably we can only guess. Oh, that's awesome. I went to New Zealand in March. Lovely. My wife and I want to go back really, really badly. You probably saw Jeff late then. That's awesome. I think I've been watching Jeff's chronicles of traveling around. I think he's in Japan now or something. I don't know. He's on a whirlwind tour, but Jeff is great. He's a lot of fun to really talk about anything. Usually he loves game development stuff, so that's fun to talk to him about. But cool, nice. Well, actually, I was actually at your work then when I was there in March, but I was there for fun and got a little tour around the office. But yes, it was very special to me. I'm very jealous that you get to work there. It's very cool. Anyways, so what we need to do here is we need to move these points based on the gradient based on the direction of the gradient, the distance of the surface that we're getting here. So, let's do this. So let's take our gradient. Let's do an add, right? Make sure I'm thinking of this right. And then we're going to multiply. And first, let's do this. Let's normalize this. Normalize it? Yeah, I think that should work. So normalize the direction here of the gradient. So now we have normalized vectors. I don't know if this will actually change anything there. Yeah, slightly, but it should be normalizing them. That's good. Just going to make a marker for that really quick. Just to make sure that this isn't changing anything overly crazy. Is doing anything majorly different? No, I just want to make sure that they're directional. Okay, cool. Well, I think that should be good. And then let's do a multiply. And let's see here. Okay, yep. So that should be right. Now they're all basically zeroed, right? They're not really doing much of anything. So that's good. And then we're going to add that to our position, and then the output is going to go back to our position here. So let's see if that, oops. Oh, cool. That's a great suggestion, Lucas. Thank you for putting that in there. Yeah, I've heard that the theory accelerated stuff is really great. I haven't really messed too much around with Axiom recently, but that's really good to know. I'll actually have to keep an eye on that. That's cool. All right, let's see what's going to happen here. Okay. Nope, I missed something. Do I have to? Sorry, let me just think about this here. Yes, I think it has to be negated here. Sorry, I'm just thinking of the math here. So we've got the normalized gradient vector, and yes, I think we have to invert that. Because what it's doing is it's pushing them away right now. So let's do that. Let's invert, I think. Yeah, let's do that. Let's see if that works. Nope. Wait, what did I do here? I just need to multiply by constant. Just need to multiply by -1, not invert it. That should be right. Okay, let's try that now. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Okay, so we're getting somewhere here, right? The only problem is that we're, so now it's sticking to this surface, so that's good. However, the problem is that we are, we're getting kind of some weird noise here, right? So we're not really getting a good noise field because they're all kind of bunching up and things like that. So we need to kind of adjust that a little bit so that it's a better field for this noise. So just as a reminder, what this is doing is this is actually still, like if we turned this SOP solver off, it is still going to push this away from the surface, right? So all this SOP solver is doing is just keeping this kind of glued to the surface as it moves around, right? So it's allowing forces and velocities to work on it, but at the beginning of each step, it's just basically snapping those particles and points back down to the surface, right? So pretty straightforward. Nothing crazy going on here, but that is one of the things that you'd want to do here. So you'd want to be like, really in close here. Maybe we'll do 25. You could probably even go higher than that. I don't think we'll be running into too much issue here. So let's do this and see where that gets us. Yeah, we're still going at, quite a few. We're still going at 24 frames a second here. So we could go higher. Let's see. Oops. Let's see where we start to kind of lose ourselves here. Yeah, we're still at 24. So let's just double that again. Cool. Okay. So what I think we might need to do here is instead of using our, well, first of all, let's actually add in some maybe collisions here. So let's see here. We should be able to do pop grains. Should be fine. And average diameter of all particles. Okay. So let's just do a pop grains here, and this should kind of collide the. Whoop. Hello. Just see here. What do we get any P scale on this? There we go. What we could probably do is just could do an attribute promote here with the p scale. So we'll go from point to detail, and we'll say p scale average. Yes, I just saw your thing. Yes, would pop p scale help with collisions? Yeah, for sure. That's what we are going to do here as well. So, all right, so we'll have the p scale there. And I'll just say null. Just maybe say points in, something like that. And then in here, we can use this to say detail attribute, and we can look for that node and points in. The attribute name will be p scale average, and then the index is 0 still. Okay, so that should be good. Let's see if that works. I don't know if that's going to be too big or too whatever. Let's see. Nope, it is still too big. Interesting. Uniform radius. Let's just see if I divide that by 2, if that's good enough. Hello? What happened? Where did my particles go? Why would making that smaller do that? That's weird. Huh. Why? Am I missing something here? Good night, man. Thanks for joining. Okay, what am I missing here? I'm missing something probably really dumb. Oh, right. I'm removing the p scale. That's the problem. I don't want to delete the original. I want to keep that. Duh. Let's see. Grain, pop grains. There we go. Detail. It's probably figuring those are at 1, so that's probably why I was doing that. Points in. P scale. Average. And 0. Let's try this again. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. So obviously this is keeping these particles a little bit more separated. However, they are still getting bunched up a little bit. So I think what we could do is create some better, noise type things to kind of work on them. Let's see here. Also, maybe this could go a little higher and this could be a little lower. We don't need to quite go so crazy here with this. And what I'm thinking we could do is instead of this pop wind here, I'm kind of thinking what we could do is do a do maybe like a curl noise or something like that. So let's try that. Let's take this out. Right now, this should just not really do a whole lot of anything. I mean, it's going to obviously try to not collide or anything like that. I wonder why is that? What is that doing? Huh. It's interesting. Not sure why it's doing that. That is very curious. I don't know why it's all bunching up like that. It's definitely this. Huh. Very interesting. I'm not sure what that's all about. Well, anyways. All right. Let's try a different noise value or a different wind value here. So, let's do a let's do a SOP solver here again, I think. And let's do that with let's do a point VOP here. And let's do curl noise. Position, there we go. Let's do where's the quick thing here? Create input parameters. There we go. Cool. And we are going to maybe add that to force. Let's try that. Let's see what that does here. Yeah, let's try that. Not sure if that'll actually add a force or not into it. Hopefully it will. Hello? Yep, well, it is working. Cool. Let's see here. We'll do maybe 0.1 for that. Let's do simplex. Let's do an amplitude of maybe 10 question mark. And let's try that. All right, what I'm going to do is turn off these grain collisions real quick because I think that's adding in something really weird here. Yeah, it is. All right, so maybe instead of that, we want to do it on the velocity. And we'll add these together maybe and do it like that. Sorry, just kind of playing around here. Oh yeah, that's obviously going to do that if it adds. Let's try this instead. Let's do maybe an average of the two. Velocity and the noise. We'll do an average there. And let's see. Interesting. Well, I'm gonna keep moving along here. I think I'm just doing something dumb here. So we can just leave the pop wind in and can always play around with this a little bit more on your own time to get some better noise results in here and stuff like that. But we're obviously getting somewhere with this, right? And this is starting to sort of get the type of look that we want. So we're not going to really overly complicate things here. I mean, this is sort of doing the look we're doing, or we were wanting from this here, where we've got the particles sort of moving along a surface. You could color them based on where they are in relationship to the grid, that type of thing. Pretty straightforward stuff. But this is the idea of getting stuff to stick, more or less to the surface. And if you wanted to, you could always like change what's going on in the SOP solver a little bit. So like you could maybe blend those two together, or not have it fully try to push it back. Maybe only try to push it back, 80% of the distance, per step. So it's not like trying to force it all the way back every step. It's kind of just trying to pull it back roughly. So you could do something like that where you'd come in here into the point FOP, and maybe instead of having this surface thing just be as is, you'd multiply this by a value or something like that. So that certainly is an option as well. Okay, so the last thing that I want to play around with is maybe this the emitting kind of grain thing that we were looking at there. So let's play around with that and see what we can get into. And that is, let's take a look at that again. Yeah, there it is. So the pen comes in, starts pushing on it, and then it kind of all goes bananas. Just looking at it, just kind of getting an idea for exactly what's going on here. Cool. All right, let's try that out. So let's do another geo node. Hey, Lucas. Yeah, thanks, from Stockholm. Wow. On my way to work. Wow, that's crazy. Well, thanks for joining on your way to work. Hopefully you're on like a train or something. I mean, don't be driving and watching these videos. That's a public service announcement to anyone watching any video that I've ever made. Don't watch my videos while you're driving. It's dangerous. Don't do it. Stop it. But thanks for joining, Lucas. That's awesome. Got 2 Lucases here. That's fantastic. Yeah, you guys even spell your name the same. That's fantastic. I love it. Okay, Sims. Let's see. We'll call this Green Explosion. I don't know. That sounds good. All right, so in that one, I think it was just flat. I don't think we have any real... Yeah, it just looks flat to me. That's fine. All right. Wookash. Yes. Ah, that's right. I always see. I feel like such a idiot saying it like that. Like, so my apologies. Wookash. I mean, I can't say it correctly anyway, so I just sound so pretentious trying to say it the right way. So hopefully my my apologies, and you can accept that I will just probably call you Lucas because that's easier for my English mouth to say. Anyways, all right, so let's grab this. Let's see what we got here. A+ for the effort. Wookash. That's fun. Wookash. Wookash, maybe? Yeah. Anyways. All right, so we should probably do 2 things. We should probably have a box of like a kind of like a big layer of grains to work with, and then have some sort of an emitter in the middle that will kind of ramp up as this goes through. I think that's what we're going to want to do. All right, let's give it a shot. All right, so let's do a box, and we're going to do a really flat wide box. Maybe we'll do like 16. It sounds perfect. Thanks. I'm sure it's great. I studied Polish in school, so I'm very well versed in it. Actually, I'm I am quite from an ethnic background. I am quite Polish. Like 3/4 of my family is of my family background is Polish. Maybe a little less than that, but somewhere in that ballpark. So lots of pierogies, lots of gołąbkis and płatzek and all sorts of stuff like that. That's that's my different sausages and things. That's my family background. So we've got a lot of in the area I'm from in Buffalo. We have a lot of Polish folks, and they actually is like this big Dingus Day celebration. I don't know if that's like an American Polish thing, but it's just a good reason to get drunk, I guess, the day after Easter. But all my ancestors would be very excited to know that I got some Polish named folks in the audience. They'd be thrilled. All right, so let's do this with Vellum. I think we're gonna do this with Vellum grains. So let's do this. We're gonna create them from this volume here. So there we go. Look at that nice one single pierogi. Yes, I love pierogis. They're so good, so good. That's just classic, like farmer's cheese or like potato and cheddar and stuff. Ooh, so good, so good. That's always my Easter meal here. All right, so let's find a kind of happy medium here. Let's do maybe 0.4. Okay, that's probably enough points to start with. Maybe we'll go a little higher, maybe 0.5. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Great. All right, so we've got this grid here, and we want to start creating some, I guess, we want to start to try to make a little velocity field here that'll actually sort of do something interesting to kind of push these particles away from that center. Yeah, I had dinner already. Me too. I'm getting hungry again. Now I gotta go. I want to go make some pierogies or something. What the heck? I don't have any in the house, but it's not really on the old diet anymore. All right, so let's make some sort of a disc here that's going to push these away. That will be good. Let's also move this up so that we have the grid. Yeah, let's do that. Let's move this. Let's do a match size, and we'll put this right on the XZ plane. So let's do a minimum here. That will, if we look at our grid here, we'll see that now this is sitting right on like this kind of ground plane in our scene. So that way we can just set up our Vellum solver, and we can just add the ground plane in. We don't have to worry about matching it up to anything. And that'll be a little easier to deal with. So now if we just tick this on, we should be good. We have our infinite ground plane set up right where our box is. So if we hit play here, we should see this fall and those kind of spread out like that, because there isn't really any clumping between these here, and they're just kind of these like dry grains. One interesting thing that I never really thought of before is that there's a couple things you can actually turn off here. And I was watching John Lynch do a presentation. So I'm doing some Vellum stuff for a course, and I watched a presentation. He was like, he literally went in here and turned this to 20. He turned these off and turned this up a little bit. But he was like, yeah, this is good. And just like hit play. And it was like he added all these substeps, and it was already like, it was the same speed, but like you have substeps now. And I was like, wait a second, it looks totally fine still. Like you could probably get away with this with probably 20 and 1 or something like that. He was like really low on it, and it was totally fine. It was crazy. I was like shocked. Now that maybe that's too low, but it seems like it's actually fairly stable, which is nice. But I saw him turn Bigos? I don't know that. Oh man. Now I feel like a failure. I don't know what that is. I'll have to look that up. Oh man, now I want to know. I'm literally going to search that over here. Oh man. Oh, it's a stew. Okay. Okay. I'm in. I like a good stew just as much as anybody else. Um, just not with the tomato sauce. I love this. Should I switch over to a cooking show? Like all of a sudden we're just cooking here, like cooking Polish food. It'd be pretty funny. I'm a terrible cook. I'm really not good at it, so you wouldn't want to see that. All right. So I think we want to add some sub steps in here, and probably we'd want some stickiness here. So let's give this a little bit of a traction weight, and maybe it's like, I don't know, there. One session a week. One cooking session. Ay. I probably am a better cook than a baker. I would say that is probably true. Better at cooking. But yeah, my wife's pretty good at that, at some of that stuff. She likes to bake, but she's funny because she's an artist, and so she looks at baking like art, and that's not how you do it. And she recently she was making cookies, and she's like, I'm just gonna add a little bit more of each of these ingredients because I want a little bit more in my batch, and like they came out wrong, and she's like, man, guess that's not how that works. I'm like, no, I think it's more like a science. Like you can't just like, let's try this. So anyways, that's always, we always joke about that, where she's like, she tries to do these things like an artist. Okay. Anyways, so we've got these particles. They're sticking a little bit. That'll hopefully keep them together a little bit better at the edges here. Let's add in a velocity in the middle here. I'm trying to think if we want to do this with a volume, if we want to do this with just like transferring the velocity. Actually kind of think just transferring the velocity attribute might be simpler to like visualize, I think. Yeah, let's just try that first. All right, let's just do a circle first. And we'll put this on the XZ plane. Reverse. So it's up like that. Maybe we'll do 24 here. How big is this comparatively? That's way too big. Let's bring this down a little bit. Maybe it's like 0.15. Yeah, not even. Let's do like 0.1. Cool. And then let's do some calculation here. So, polyframe should do it. We could probably get some normals facing outwards. Let's see here. What is it? Primitive centroid. Wait, what? Oh, right. It's probably the tangent, not the normal. Let's do this as, oops, not M, but N. Yeah, there we go. That's like, why is that not working? Usually that should work, I feel like. What is going on here? There we go. I knew there's a way to get the just outward velocity, like direction. Actually, that's not right. Oh, you know what I could do? Sorry. If I do a point velocity, should be able to do this where we do a conical noise. No. Why is that? Why was that not working? What am I missing here? I really thought polyframe would work. Maybe I'm just thinking something stupid here. Yeah, it wasn't by it looked close, but it's definitely not right. That is pointing inwards. Why is it not? So I just want the opposite of this. So let's do that, and let's just do this. We'll just do a point wrangle. I don't know. I'm missing something very simple here, I'm sure. So let's say v times equals negative v. Can we do that? Negative v at n like that? Does that work? Is that right? No, that's not right. You can't do that. I just have to multiply it times -1. That's right, I think. No. Equals v at n. And then we'll just times... Actually, that might have worked, but that's right. Okay, so let's see what direction that's pointing in. Yep, that's right. Cool. And we can add some conical noise to this. Just a little bit here. Maybe we'll do that. And right. So then the other thing we probably want to do here is give this a little bit of upward velocity, and we could say the direction of the point full. Oh yeah, duh. Thank you. Yep, that's right. There's a direction in there. Add a velocity, just a little bit of up. And that should be fine. I'm going to turn this off for a second just so we can sort of see this. So there's that. And then, wait, why is that not adding to that? Keep in, there we go. Silly. Under basic, yeah, thanks. Ay. I'm losing it. All right, 0.5, something like that. Then we could add a little bit of conical noise here. Or we could add a little bit of curl noise, either way. The only problem with this is that I don't want it to add too much. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to blend these two together, I think, based on an attribute transfer. So here's our point velocity here. We don't have any. Actually, I'm just going to reset this to factory defaults, say set to value, and that's just 0. So we have 0 velocity on those. That's great. Then if we do an attribute transfer, we should be able to take... Sorry, what does this say? From to. Okay. Ugh, hate that those are that way. Often want them the other way. So this is the to, this is the from. Let's see here. Can we not visualize those as spheres? And don't add a sprite to it. Thank you. Let's do the background as dark gray. Maybe that'll help us see this a little better. Nope, still super hard to see. Okay, so we've got these particles are all kind of moving away from this now. And if we were to wire this in here, that's tough to look at. If we were to wire this in here and hit play, they should all like jump away, right? They're all going to like sort of fly away from this. Which is not obviously what we want it to do. We don't want it all to go away. The other thing is that we want it to be a part of the simulation. So we don't want it to, we don't want it to only happen once and then keep going. So actually what we probably should do is do this attribute transfer inside of here with some forces. Yeah, this probably could be something to use for the mop stuff. I wasn't really thinking of going into that kind of thing tonight, and I'd have to kind of think about it a little bit as far as how that exactly would work. But no, that is a good point, Lucas. Like, it could be something you would be able to do in mops with some fall offs and things like that for sure. And I think what I'm actually about to start to think through here is probably it's probably going to be better to not have this to actually turn this into a velocity volume. But let's first try this and we'll kind of go from there. So here's our attribute transfer. We're not going to use this. In fact, we probably don't even need this point velocity now because it's just going to be set to 0 anyways here. So if we come inside of here and yeah, you could possibly do that as well. But what I'm going to use is the transfer just to transfer it to the ones that are close to it. That's how I'm going to kind of do that. And what we could do there is have like a distance fall off as well. So we could also calculate ones that are close to this disk based on a distance to the geometry, and then scale it based on that as well. Because really, we don't want it to be a hard, is it affected or isn't it affected? It's better to really have it as a, yeah, exactly. It'd be kind of like a fall off where you would have it sort of working together like that. So, so here we have the circle point velocity. Yep. Okay. So let's just do a null here and just say, say vel source, because we could maybe add some more things in here to make this a bit more interesting. So let's do that. And let's come in here and let's do a SOP solver again. And so here's our geometry coming in. We're not seeing that there, which kind of is frustrating. If we hit play here, are we going to see anything? Yeah, there we go. Okay. So there's our DOP import geometry that's coming in. So then what we can do is we can object merge in our geometry. So we can say get vel source. We'll look for that, which is going to be up here, vel source. Cool. And let's do the attribute transfer. It's going to be there, and we're going to transfer it from here. And so now, if we take the velocity, let's also turn this distance threshold down a little bit. So let's just set it to 1 for right now. And let's see here. I'm actually going to turn these off, this visualizer again, so it's not displaying those as spheres. Just want to get see the actual velocities going on here. So this is the geometry here with our velocities on it. What? Sorry. What happened here? What's going on? Something goofy going on here. Sorry. I don't know why this is not showing properly. Oh, now it is. That is so weird. I don't know what that's all about. Anyways, okay, so there's our velocity source. Cool. Let's go inside here. In here, there's that. And if we were to, there we go. Okay, so there's that. You can see that this fall off is happening here. It's a little hard to see, but it's there. Let's see if we can blend this a bit. Okay. Is that actually working? Yeah, there we go. So we can actually blend that in now, which is kind of nice. Right, so I think actually if we do the distance threshold to 0, is that right? Let's see. Yep. If we do it like that, this will actually allow us to kind of have like a little fall off here now. So we can kind of set the inner section there, and then the blend width will set this kind of blending area. So this is going to sort of work. It's not going to exactly do what we want it to, but it's going to be something. So let's take a look at it and see what this does. Let's turn these spheres back on so we can see this a little better. And there we go. Let me turn off that visualizer so that we're not dealing with all that craziness. So there we go. Obviously, we've pushed all of those particles out of there. That's not exactly what we wanted to do, but it's you know, obviously we're dealing with the area there and pushing those particles out. Now what we could do as well is probably let's see here. Yeah, so that's pushing those out. Great. That's what we want. However, we want it to kind of ramp up over time. We don't want it to all be at once. So let's see if we can't tweak that a little bit here. All right, so here's our velocity source. We can take a look at these. Get rid of that. So what we could do is do this and actually scale this now that I'm looking at it. So we could scale that. Or what we could do, we could keep incoming here. We could come down and just add another one of these in, take out this add velocity, say from attribute, replace, and now this should, if we turn off the curl noise, this should just multiply that. So we could just turn that up and down, right? So this will take anything coming in and multiply it, right? So that's kind of cool. We could do that. Let's maybe do this. We'll set it to 0 here, and then we'll go up to, I don't know, not too far. Let's do 72, and we'll set this to 1. Like so. So we'll have it start there and then kind of get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then go crazy. Something like that. And maybe it's not quite as vertical, but it's something. Like maybe instead we have it like this. Maybe it's like that instead. All right, let's take a look at what that looks like in here and see how that'll like kind of multiply in. Oops, we got all those velocity vectors on. Okay, we're getting somewhere there. The other thing we could possibly do here is we could start the circle smaller and transform this as well. So we could start it like that and make it, make it bigger as we go along here, right? And let's just see how that looks. Down here, cool. Yep. And like push it outwards like that. So we could go. Cool. Yeah, let's do that same thing. We'll start this here at 0. And then push it outwards to be, I don't know, maybe 3 or something like that. I don't know. Kind of just guessing here, trying to figure out something that'll work. Actually, I could probably be even a little bit bigger, maybe 5. Perfect. All right, let's try that out, see how that works. So I think one of the things that we're running into here is that it's just kind of like opening it up. It's not really like pushing it, right? So that's sort of one of the things that we're kind of dealing with here. It's not really like shoving them out of the way. So let's see if we can't adjust that a little bit here too. Let's do like -5. Let's just see what that looks like here. And then let's add a little bit more curl noise in here. And let's start the circle actually at a scale and not at 0. So we'll just start this at 1. We'll see how that goes. Because we want to actually push it out a bit quicker from that kind of center point. So we don't want it to just... I might need a little more vertical direction here. Verticality. Here. Yeah, that's probably a little too horizontal there. Okay. And let's do this. Select those and just move them back like so. All right. Maybe might just be doing this too slowly. That's possible as well. And it's getting a little better, but I'm going to turn this off actually. I don't think it needs to get like bigger per se. I just want to keep playing around with this. All right, so let's do this again. Let's actually increase this a bit more. And oops, I'm going to turn the sim off for a second here and just click on this and move it over. I'm just using middle click here to move that. Let's try that. Turn the sim back on. All right, so what I'm going to do now is, since we're starting to get these actually pushing around here, I'm going to try to source some of these particles in as well, because that I think really needs to happen here. Oops. I think we really need to be sourcing some particles in here, because right now, you know, we're pushing them out, but we're not adding any new ones in there, right? So let's try that as well. So here's our circle. And yeah, I really like Karma XPU in general. I think yeah, Masami is asking if that's any good, and yeah, I think so. I'm a little biased, I guess, but yeah, I do really think that there's some nice new features in there, you know. So I think it's worth taking a look at, giving it a try. Feels really pretty performative, which is nice. All right, let's just do 0.1. Let's try that. We're going to do a Vellum grain, configure grain here. The particle size I'm going to match to this. So we'll copy that parameter over to here and paste relative references. And here we'll say no. Put a couple nulls down here for geo. God, I think this is going to blow up if I just put this in here. Just trying to think here. Let's see. Let's do a Vellum source. And we'll grab those two, geo and con. We'll do each frame. All right, let's see what happens here. I think this is going to blow up and freak out, but let's give it a shot. Whoa, that's interesting. Didn't expect that. Oh, no, that doesn't. What the heck's going on there? Create points from volume. What did I do? Did something wrong. Maybe this is too small to make particles from. Yeah, I guess it is. Oh, no, I didn't make closed geometry. That's why. I didn't close it. I bet you that's the problem. I'll put back. There we go. That's silly. That is silly. All right, let's see what happens here. I made that bigger. Let's go back to this real quick. Just want to make sure that we're not doing anything weird here. Let's see. How tall is that? 0.25. Trying to think here what's going on. So we're adding this volume in here. Hello? It's weird. Why is that? Why did that not cook properly? Huh. Strange. So this is really strange because it's actually sourcing new particles in here, but they're kind of just like flying away super, super fast. And you can actually see that these are like the first particles here that are in the middle. Let me turn this velocity down again, see if I can just try like 2 again. This is really bizarre looking. Because it's like spitting new points into this. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I'm just trying to make, oh, that's the wrong thing. Just make something like this here, where it's like they're kind of spitting out from the middle like this. Where they're all kind of like shooting out like that. But it's really bizarre looking. It looks like weird tentacles or something. Maybe each sub-step would be better. Let's see. Let's see if that works. Okay, let's try something here. I just want to see if maybe it's something that I'm doing in here that's, I mean, it's definitely something in here that's causing the issue. Just want to see like why are we only getting like 6 directions here? Because there should be more directions going here. I don't understand why we're only getting like 6 individual directions. Because like those are all the directions I have. And those are all like that. So like what the heck is going on here? All right, let's see if that does anything better there, where it maybe pulls more samples. Oops. It's so weird. Huh. Okay. First of all, this probably does not need to be as big as it is. So let's do this. Get a little more speed out of this thing. Cool. All right. Well, instead of doing that, which is clearly not working, let's do this. Let's make a volume velocity and see if we can't make that work. All right, let's add just a little more grains in here just so we have a little bit more to work with. Let's make this circle a little bit bigger. And all right, so instead of doing this that we were doing here with this poly frame and all that stuff, let's try something a little bit different. I'm just going to pull this out. We'll do something different here. Let's grab this shape, which is where we're going to emit our grains from, basically. And since we're at the origin here, we could actually just have this calculate the distance to the origin and then scale the fall off based on that. So let's try that. All right, so we've got the poly extrude here. Let's do a bound around that just to kind of give us a box to work with, and then we can turn that into our velocity VDB. So let's just give this a little bit of padding here. Maybe something like that, just to give us a little bit of cushion around it, something like that. Okay, cool. So let's do a let's see. Let's do a volume. And this will be a vector. We'll call this vel. The initial value is something like that, just to give it a little bit of initial value so it's not empty. And I should be able to do that, I believe. Yep, looks right. And let's do by size. Maybe we'll do something like that, 0.05. So now we've got some voxels here that we can start to create our velocity from. What we could do is do a volume VOP. And we could We'll do a bind export to val. This will be a vector. And let's get the distance to the origin. Actually, now that I'm thinking of it, I don't want this to go down. So let's just change our bounds a little here and do the lower padding at 0. I don't want it to go any lower than that. Okay, so let's do a distance calculation here. So we're going to do a distance of the current position of the voxel, and I'm going to click this and add a constant, and this is just going to be origin. So that'll just be the origin there. So we'll just say origin. And then what we can do here is we can do a nope. What am I thinking of? It's not a ramp. Fit. It's not a remap, it's a fit. So there's a fit there that we can use. We can set the source min. And yeah, let's just promote all of these. So we'll do that. Here, create input parameters. So that'll just promote all of those. And that'll allow us to kind of set where the minimum and maximum are. And then we can set velocity to equal P. We'll do a multiply and multiply it by this fit value, which is basically going to allow us to ramp where that velocity is going to go. And there we go. So now it should be 0 at the inside and 1 at the out. And we just want to flip that around first of all. So we can come up here, we can say like this and like that. So now it should be reversed, and then we can adjust how far out it's going to go here. And then we can, let's just do a null here, and we'll just call this velocity. Like that. Actually, we can call it val source. Perfect. All right, let's go in here. And instead of doing this, we can do a volume, effect by volume. We can grab that location, val source. There we go. And give that a shot. Okay, I think we might not have enough velocity here, so let's just go a little crazy and see where that gets us. There we go. That is working, so that's cool. That is starting to do more of what we would want it to, where we're sourcing, you know, grains in there like that, right? So they're kind of pushing in, right? So now we're starting to get something maybe a little bit more interesting. And yeah, Masami, that's an interesting suggestion. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you could do something like this with the old system. Could work fine. Let's just do this. Let's say 15. Oh, in fact, what we could do is just keyframe this. So let me turn this off. Move this to like 10. Set this to 0. And then here we'll maybe do this 250. Cool. All right. And what I want to do is, instead of that, I think I just want to do update force. So don't know why this isn't working, but let's see if we can't make this work with force. Because I really don't want it just to be updating the velocity like super harsh like that. I want it to actually, yeah, see, why is that not? It's like trying to do something, but it's just not. Let's see here. Let's just go crazy. Let's see if we can't get it to do anything. Ah, it looks like that's going to do something. Yeah, it's a little too much. All right. Let's cut that back a little bit. 50 maybe? Give that a shot. I think that's too much still. So what I think we might do here is maybe make this a little bigger, like so. Actually, I feel like making it bigger might be a bad idea. Let me just see here. Just see what happens if we make it a little smaller, actually. Yeah, a little too small. Just going to try to make this a little bit bigger, see if this helps. Oops. Make this a little bigger as well. Well, it is working, kind of. Doing something. It's just a little bit too vertical. And let's see here. So we need to make these velocities not going straight up, more straight out. So let's see if we couldn't do something. Let's see, velocity volume. No, that's not going to do it. Just think if there's some math I can do in here. Because we want it to come out like that we had before. I wonder if maybe if we just did this instead. Got these velocities. We don't actually need to scale these, so we can just delete that channel. And what if instead of doing this, we did a volume velocity? There's that. Point velocities. Okay. From object, point velocity extrapolation distance. We can turn that down a little bit. Okay. Let's try that. I don't know if that will be any better, but let's give it a shot. Oh, it's like a fountain. It's like a grain fountain. I think we're getting a little closer here. Ay, that's insanity. Okay, well, that's a little close. That's so funny. All right. So what do we have here? Nope, wrong. Let's put these together like that. Okay, great. There's that. This here. You walked into something crazy. I'm getting close. We're getting closer here. All right, here we go. Cool. Now we just have too much velocity in here, so that's one thing we can fix. So let's cut it to 15? I don't know. Let's try 15. All right. So now we have this volume velocity that is taking the point velocities here that exist on this, which are that, and they're putting that into this volume. Now it looks pretty similar, but it's basically taking all of these point velocities and putting it into this this volume. So another thing I'm actually going to do here is turn this division size down just a little bit, just so we have maybe a little more resolution in there. Cool. It's not like we have a lot of voxels here really or anything, I don't think. So okay, cool. Let's try this out. Let's see if we can get somewhere here. Oops. Got these vectors on, so let's turn that off. Yeah, it's probably still a little too big. Let's just turn that down a little bit. Maybe, I'm going to guess 8. I don't know. I wish I could see that in here. That's really annoying. Oh, there we go. I can see it in here. I was going to say, I thought I could. Yeah, this is a little hard to see because, like, they're just going fast. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, it's still pretty intense, actually. Let's say 6, maybe? Yeah. I mean, we're getting somewhere here. They're going really fast. But if you had like motion blur on or something, like, let me see here. What if we did like the spark trail thing? What in the heck is going on here? That's different. Just gonna clean up some of these things here. We're just gonna delete the non-selected, PV, P scale. Mass. Sure, that looks good. Dot object. Great. Let's throw this in here. Yeah, this at least we can see sort of what's going on here. Actually, you know what? There is just a trail, right? Particle trail. Yeah, that's good. It's probably enough. Is this adding those splits? No. Okay, cool. So yeah, so we're getting these sort of interesting kind of divergent grain sims. You can see the shape of what's going on here. It's a little hard to see it when it's all just individual point, spheres that are kind of moving really quickly. It's hard to see where they're going, but this gives you a sense for like how you could do that, right? So you could do it like this and get this really big sort of moving kind of thing coming out from the middle there. We could push it down a little bit more, right? Like the actual velocity here, this is at 6, so we could try like 4, I guess. And give that a shot. It's interesting, this trail, what it's doing. It's like only showing us the stuff that's moving, which is kind of interesting. Let's see what that looks like just as the grains themselves. Yeah, it's like super hard to see what's going on here. Just very weird. Just looks like a big blunt, like, because it's just all these hard spheres moving really quickly. So we don't really get any of that like motion blur kind of stuff going on. But I wonder if we did this. I wonder if this would look like anything. No, it doesn't, because we're losing the visualization. Interesting. Yeah. Anyways, well, hopefully this is starting to get where we want it to. You get this kind of interesting kind of pushing out of these particles and things like that, and you can kind of shoot around and do all sorts of different things. What I'm doing here is obviously taking these velocities that I created over here. Where are they? Sorry, there, and messing with those within the simulation. So I'm turning those into a velocity volume. We can control how those get extrapolated out, how big or small they might be. So maybe they're only going to be that big, and you could make this a much smaller, situation here where you just have a few little particles in the middle kind of pushing out or whatever. So there's obviously a lot of options here that we could do. And kind of depending on how you want to make this look, you got kind of play around with these different ideas here and different sorts of sourcing methods and stuff like that to kind of push these things out and play around with them. And maybe in this thing here where they're kind of all pushing around in there like that, maybe you do something where they're hitting a surface here, right? Like you could do that as well and give it a surface up on top that it's pushing into, and that would certainly kind of constrain it visually a little bit more. Obviously it really depends on how you wanted to do it. And then this end result here would just be kind of a continuation, like an extension of what we're just doing there, where we have multiple kind of rings going out with multiple kind of noises pushing up into the air, and you would just blast that real hard and kind of let it puff the whole thing out. So yeah, that's sort of where we're heading. I think that is at least interesting to play around with, and you could maybe take a look at it and see see where you could take something like this. This will be up on the Discord server, and you can take a look at it and see sort of how I'm doing this and play around with some of the values, change some of how the velocities are being calculated and things like that. So these are all the velocities here that are sourcing this volume velocity. You can change the extrapolation distance here. You could change the scale. There's a lot of different kind of attributes and values that you could go in there and tweak and kind of play with. But yeah, I think we're kind of going to wrap up here. Thank you all very much for joining and watching. It's always nice to have people chatting and being able to talk about this different stuff that we're kind of playing around with and doing in here. So thanks so much. Thank you to the folks who posted that on the Discord server. There was some interesting, just to be able to kind of do some different setups here. Obviously, we looked at a few different things that we could do with grains and how we could kind of play around with them, keep them on the grid, maybe make them explode like this, do some different things. So there's some different methods being used here. So hopefully this is an interesting thing, at least for you to be able to kind of play around with and think about and sort of understand what's going on in there. Obviously this isn't the final results. You're never able to, it's hard for me to be able to do something that, visually complicated in a few hours, but hopefully it just gives you a little insight and maybe into some thoughts and ways to think about how to play around with some of that stuff. So yeah, guys, thanks. Thank you so much for being around. And yeah, if you guys are playing with the files and have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the in the Discord server and just say, hey, you know, I was messing around with the file and, you know, I noticed this, and maybe what if you did something like this instead? So, yeah, if you want to go to HoudiniHangout.com, you can get an invite to the server that way. And there is a thread called HH Files, and you can go there and get a link to all of the HIP files that should be on my live stream. If something's missing, let me know. You can always comment or chat there as well. But yeah, I really appreciate everybody being here. Next week, I'm going to be planning to do a Mops Monday as well. So we'll do some Mops stuff and play around with that. If you guys have any suggestions for things that we could take a look at, how to do with Mops, like things that you've seen people do or things that you might have been thinking about how you could do, that'd be cool. We've also have some really cool... there was a good suggestion from someone about the X particles reel, basically. So we might look at some things in there and see how we would do those using Mops. So I think that's where, like I said, where we'll end it for the evening. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for joining and chatting and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you next time. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I'll talk to you later.